Happy weekend, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for taking some time today to join us. Little Apollo here, very happy, well fed, newly groomed, and ready to support us in the background as we do today's reading. I'm going to put him down so we can talk. My name, of course, is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and welcome to your weekly forecast. One of the cool things with the weekly forecast is we get a chance to look at a special topic. And today you chose a really good one. It's basically whatever needs to come through. And that gives me so much freedom as a reader. So thank you for just allowing me to be a clear channel. And it's going to make it a lot of fun today as we do the reading. We'll probably do a Celtic Cross, but I'll do some free flow questions as well because wherever I feel like I need to deviate based on what's coming through in the cards or what I'm feeling, we'll do that. So it'll be a fun reading. And when I don't ever think I've seen this far of a win. It was something like 70% or whatever of everybody wanted to see this. So I think you'll all be happy with today's special topic. And if not, keep voting. Every week I change them up. I'll take some old ones. I'll put some new ones in. I took some of your feedback. That part of it's very democratic. So anyway, good to see all of you. We're going to start off with channeled messages. As you can see, channeled messages came through this morning, primarily in dreams, and then again, a little bit of me meditating on it afterwards. So today was really interesting because there were messages around perfection, the need to be perfect, the need to release that need to be perfect, and then some other messages as well. Let me just pull the keynote up here, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so you saw in my teaser graphic, I put a little owl in there. That was the totem that I came through in meditation. But in dreams, it was very much like I was at school. So we're going to talk about being graded, being judged, and why that doesn't really always matter so much. And then we'll talk a little bit about the wisdom of the owl. All right, so contrary to, I think, the way most of us were brought up in traditional schools and society and everything, where there's a focus on grade point average, not everybody tests well. Grades in and of themselves have a level of subjectivity based on the instructor, particularly when we're looking at less science or math-oriented things, maybe things like art or even if you're writing a paper based on something, it's your communication skills that are being judged, maybe not so much your retention of knowledge or your understanding or mastery of the topic. So there's always these lenses and filters which don't necessarily show your level of mastery. And that's actually what this card is about, mastering a skill or understanding something completely. So oftentimes we look at A, B, C, D, F. Sometimes those systems have been chucked out, which is good. Or, some of the, like in the United States, there was an SAT. I know different countries have these graduating equivalent, or not equivalent, but they're exams basically on your final or 12th year that you take. And then that decides where you go to college. And I don't think that's it's not very effective. I wasn't a great test taker, but I'm really good at, if I see something, I remember it, and then I can apply it in a very sort of significant way. So I think here, the importance is, did you learn something? Can you apply it? Can you remember that in the future? So I'm talking about the two students here in my dreams that I saw sitting at a table, getting grades, and I felt like the one that got the B really understood everything, and it was even the one that got the A said, I think you're even better than I am on this, but whatever, it's just a grade. But it was very disappointing for that one person. So don't let one subjective opinion or one grade anywhere along your path, particularly if you're working and you don't get the review that you want, for instance. It's one opinion, one moment in time. So the next slide is the powerful one, application, retention. Can you retain it? Do you remember things? Did you really embody all that you needed to from that lesson? Can you apply it in an exciting, innovative, or unexpected way? All of those things are what make for leadership success. And honestly, that's why you came to this planet, not for leadership and success, but to learn and to expand. The grade is just like a dressing that you can take or leave. It doesn't affect the core of who you are. So success is also fulfillment. Are you satisfied at the end of your day and at the end of your days before you transition into the spirit realm again? When you look back, do you think, did I do all I could? then I'm good. I'm grading me. The other grades were opinions, reflections, lessons, but they don't so much matter anymore. And I think back to like when I was a kid, there were different versions of me. There was a younger version that didn't care. Then I got very competitive with people. And now I'm kind of back into the zone where I'm not as impressed by just the grade. I really want to know what someone can do with the skills. So I've kind of ebbed and flowed over time where I stand on all of that. But I really think at the end of the day, it's just sort of like how, have you done your best? Did you learn what you needed to? And if you made a mistake, just don't make the same mistake again. And then you're always expanding, growing, and going in the right direction. Okay. Now let's move on to your totem animal today, and we're going to look at the owl. And one of the things that I remembered in previous research was they don't have traditional eyeballs like we do. They're more like tubes, and they have this ability to kind of act like binoculars. One of the best cards for binocular sort of view is the Two of Wands. Not so much the High Priestess. She's just picking up on things. The Two of Wands is looking out there and reaching out in the distance. And when you have that binocular-like vision, you want to combine it with the Magician or the High Priestess, but sometimes you can see things in directions, in applications. We were just talking about applications that other people may not understand or get. So use your remote viewing, if you will, and embrace it. It's kind of, sometimes it's a little lonely to be a visionary, but this is the important thing for you to do, is to follow through on your vision, to trust in it, and to know that eventually it's all going to come together. And you may be in this point right now where you're feeling like you're needing to go in a different direction, and that's okay if that's what you are in your heart and soul feeling. The next thing here is about discretion and communication. So owls are pretty quiet, and they're very effective hunters, and they've basically given up some aerodynamic capabilities so that they could be quiet. Their feathers, instead of focusing solely on traveling long distances, or again, the bird itself being aerodynamic, they just want to be silent, so that at night when the prey can't really see, they can kind of swoop in and they get their meal before the prey even knows what happens. So if we look at this as an apex predator, something that can get what it wants, and we look at the method by which it did it, it's basically by not giving everything away. And so sometimes you have to sort of sit on something, and the timing and the communication of that is going to be really key. So the hermit is knowing exactly when to shine the lantern. And other times he just sort of keeps the secret, keeps the vision to himself. Discretion in who you communicate your ideas or what you share your information, who you share your information with is going to be really important, because as we know, some people can't help. It just goes in the ears and out the mouth. So be very mindful of also if you've signed any contracts like a non-disclosure agreement or things of that nature. This is a period where you're onto something exciting. Finish it, get it solid, get it ready, and then you can talk about it. So this is probably a very niche portion of you that needed to hear that, but it was something that came through just to be discreet. And then when it's time, you can be the star, because the hermit's holding that star in the lantern, but he knows when and where to use that sort of star power. Okay? And those are the channeled messages. From this, we're going to now go into the 7-day forecast. Give me a moment to pick the deck today. I'm going to kind of do it in the flow. I already know what I want to use for the main spread, so give me 1 second here to choose this one. I think I'm going to do True Heart Intuitive for this, because it's been a minute since we used this. All right, so for this portion, we're going to take a look at the next 7 days, bringing us from basically today, Sunday, to next Sunday. Let me just zoom in on the table so we can see it, and let's get going, folks. How's everyone doing today? I saw in the comments before I started that some of you, like me last week, had to go through the time change. I know that different parts of the world recognize daylight savings or daylight standard time at different times. So hang in there, folks. It gets better. This is for everybody. We're going to do elemental breakdown after this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and next weekend. Okay, let's get these cards centered so you can see them, and we'll take them one by one, starting with today. All right, so we're going to be looking at, let me just get to the day markers because I know you guys appreciate that. All right, so we're going to look at today, Sunday. All right, so we have the Hierophant. A good day to get organized, folks. And to just sort of like, if something is tried and true and has worked for you, there's a lot of days for innovation, but today is a day to really kind of lean into the things that have worked, will work. And again, one of those might just be simply deciding to do some planning today. So I do like the Hierophant for all of those sort of things. Of course, it's Sunday. Some of you may be choosing to meditate, worship, or just clear your mind. And of course, this card is great and is a good sort of beacon for all of those things. One thing that I always like to highlight on the Hierophant are the keys. A lot of times, traditionally, we look to others. Maybe it's a parent, a teacher, a mentor, and we think, you know, what do they think? What would they do? As we travel through this journey that we call life, we eventually become the holder of the keys. And so you're today sort of being asked to just trust yourself. Some of you, like me, may not have those sort of elders in your life anymore, or you may have learned everything you needed to. Maybe like you're getting ready to graduate from college or something, and you're getting ready to sort of experience a new chapter. And this is saying, take the key and open some door that someone else couldn't before. Do something unique. So this, if you are going to plan your next big step, it is about understanding that sometimes people can't even advise you on it because it's a new path. Back when I first graduated, it dates me a bit, but all of the internet stuff was newish. And so I was a lot of times, and so were my fellow students, I'm sure this is still true for many of you, we were ahead of our professors. So they were teaching us like nonlinear editing in film school, but they kind of were still talking about old paradigms, like how they were editing, you know, traditional film. Meanwhile, we were working in like Media 100 or Premiere or whatever it was around at the time, and learning a lot of the stuff on our own. So you may get a little bit of guidance from the old guard, but you're probably going to have to take it and run with your own sort of understanding. And so a lot of what I did, because I grew up with that sort of energy coming through, and in the workplace it was new, but I was on the cutting edge of it. So I always just learned it myself. I would go home, I would search stuff on the internet, I would teach myself a program, I would just even like this, learning how to live stream, and you just kind of like figure it out. So you've got the keys, you can figure it out. Okay, it's not all going to be put in a book. That's why, again, I think when it comes to learning, sometimes we have to go away from the textbook expectation or explanation. So getting organized and trying something new, or digging into something and learning something. It may not be in print. It might have to be something that you create, your own sort of curriculum or textbook, okay? Now let's take a look at the energy of Monday. So wonderful card coming through for Monday. We have the King of Pentacles. This is abundance personified when we're looking at tarot. It's a great day for business. It's a great day to look at your money. It's a great day to talk about your money or your business or your plans. This is also the card that I would associate with home improvements, and feeling comfortable in a space. So if you are working from home, or if you want to go out and look for new apartments or a place to purchase or something, this is a great day for that because you're more connected to spaces. As a general card that represents you and your potential, this is a good card because people are drawn to your energy. It's kind of like a parental card, like paternal energy. So people may be coming to you for advice. It could even be like you're at the supermarket and someone just starts talking to you randomly, or at the bank because they feel like you're safe energy. You might have some advice, your listening ear. Remember, of course, to have proper boundaries when these things happen. The good news, much like today's daily card, which I believe was the Page of Pentacles, you have the potential to get what you need with these court cards when we're looking at the Suit of Pentacles, especially the King. So if you want to do something, ask for it or give it a shot. If you don't, put your foot down. All right. I love that he's grounded. I love that he's barefoot. He's very connected to who he is. He's down to earth. A down to earth approach will be key. This isn't a day to sort of feel like you're better than someone else or to not empathize, to be grounded in facts, to be on the same level with someone else. This is how you're going to have successful conversations on Monday. Moving to Tuesday, we have a very interesting card here. We have the Eight of Swords. And this Eight of Swords, it kind of reminds me in recent times, if we think of like Stranger Things, like Vecna, a very similar energy to that. But even a little bit like Medusa or like an octopus, lots of cool things going on with this card. What I see here when I'm looking at it, if we take all of those sort of references out, I see someone tethered by their fears. So each tendril of the hair is connected to one of the swords. They're trying to rise above, but they need to release some of these things. So the Eight of Swords comes through when we can't see something and we want to see something. It's like, I need to know, but what's happening? And sometimes the universe has different plans or it wants to surprise us. Sometimes we're just meant to discover something on our own. So ambiguity, comfort with ambiguity is going to be key. If you don't know, if you're unclear, this is different. Just simply ask a question. Say, I know you've said this before, but this is a little bit new to me. Can you break it down in a different way? Or this is what I heard. Is that correct? Or I'm going to work on this, right? Just put a little bit of clarification and communication out there, because you or the other party could be disconnecting a little bit. I think that, if there was ever a day for self-care, this is a good day for self-care. Just kind of any of you that have vacation or sick leave, or if you can just do a little bit less and just reconnect to who you are and what you're trying to do, that's going to be key. Ultimately, Eight of Swords is not one to be feared. It is just sort of saying, I need to look beyond this issue, because sometimes you've gotten all the clarity that you can get, and it could just be about focusing over here or looking at something else. Okay, we don't want to ignore anything, but sometimes there are no answers. That's a strange place to be sometimes, but you may have someone who doesn't know, and in that case, go to someone else. You may be working with the Eight of Swords. And in this case, it's the blindfolded leading the blindfolded. And so one party needs to take the blindfold off and sort of say, let's look around. Let's both admit that we're just kind of not clear on this. And usually once one person admits it, the other person opens up. But either way, I would avoid key decisions, key conversations, key meetings on Tuesday. It's a day for research. Actually, research could help you get out of this. Education and information helps transmute that. So try to delay a meeting if you can, and if not, then try to get to the facts. All right. Midweek, looking better. Two of Pentacles. I usually see this as reclaiming your position, your work-life balance. Obviously, we can take it at face value, which is saying don't overextend. The card was in reverse, which for me shows a little bit more readiness to make a decision. It's like coming out of that, trying to make everyone happy or trying to spread yourself too thin. Basically, the opportunity with the Two of Pentacles is to choose one of those two pentacles. And we have two people in this card, which I like. So why not delegate? Why not distribute sort of some of the resources so you're not trying to do it all? So that's one of the things that it takes time and experience and life to sort of understand. I don't have to try to make everyone happy. I don't have to get all this stuff done by the end of the day. Just because someone gives me an arbitrary deadline doesn't mean that it's absolutely necessary. This is one thing that I learned after many years in corporate culture. Sometimes we just have a middle manager that creates a deadline because they're afraid that their boss may need it. But if you just kind of highlight that something's unreasonable, they could just ask and probably get the deadline pushed. Or the whole organization needs a wake-up call, because you can't keep, kind of like working yourself to a level where you're going to get sick or something like that. So resource management, communicating status, and also communicating what's realistic. That's all going to be key during this period of time. All right, let's move on to the next card. Let me just mute those notifications. All right, as we're looking at Thursday, we have the Five of Cups. And the Five of Cups is a perspective shifting card. I love that this illustrator chose to put all the eyeballs all around it. All right, so again, looking at Thursday, what's cool about this is if you look in the background, we can see that there's a cup on either side of her. That can represent friends and family. That can represent new love or friend that, figuratively or literally, they're always there behind you. They always have your back. What's in front of her? This is like the student that I saw in the the dream that I had this morning. It could be, this didn't work out. Or, these are 3 cups. 3 cups can represent gossip, especially when reversed or spilled. Someone spilled the tea. Someone spilled some rumors or some facts. And they weren't using discretion, which was something that I talked about. Maybe it was even you. But what is done is done. An interesting sort of thing to think about with 5 of Cups and even 10 of Swords. Once the card is there, you can't put the liquid back in the cup. You wouldn't want to. It's been on the ground. It's dirty. It's not going to work. You're going to clean the cup. It's going to be empty. You're going to have to fill it up again. 10 of Swords, the damage is done. But these are usually turning point cards. 10 of Swords, there's a new day breaking in the background. It can only get better. I read with a deck, the Modern Witch, where there's 2 10 of Swords, and one says everything's fine, which means everything's going to be fine. So with this one, you could put the same sort of understanding here. Yes, go ahead, get the emotion out. It's important. But then there's a new day, and there's also someone behind you or around you that wants to support you. So focus on what you have, what's still available. Let the rain come down. It's like that Lady Gaga song, right? Like cry a little bit, then move forward. All right. Once you change your perspective, you start to see new opportunities coming through for you. And that's when things start to get exciting. All right. So that was Thursday. Let's look at Friday. This is what it's all about. This is what I was seeing when I looked at channeled messages. This is why you have to overcome maybe a lack of clarity, maybe overextended resources, and maybe focusing too much on what didn't work or the grade that you didn't get. Because now we really see that you've got it. You actually are graduating with honors with this card. That's what this is representing. So on Friday, we have 3 of Pentacles. Yeah, it's reversed, but it's still the 3 of Pentacles. So if we look closely at this one, we actually see one coin there that has been split between all 3 of them. Teamwork. Teamwork is going to be important. And also, again, sharing something. This is the day where I think it is a good time to share an idea, let something go, edit or revise. You're very close to something being finished. And when you bring all of these sort of disparate pieces together, some sort of pattern emerges. So I think this is a really great day to get feedback, to let go of something. Also to let others know, thank you, or job well done, even if that's not normally how you work or operate. I don't think you should have to, I don't want to use the word beg, but sort of pull for a compliment. But what you could do on Friday, if you need direction, is say, it would be great to get some feedback on this. Is this to your liking? Do you want anything changed, or can I move on to the next thing? This is for those of you in school or in a job. That way you're sort of indirectly, maybe they'll give you a compliment, maybe they'll give you criticism, hopefully constructive criticism, but at this point you can then at least get that sort of energy that you need. Be prepared for it to be a B instead of an A, and know that you probably still got the A, because I saw that in spirit. So sometimes, the reason being, by the way, folks, is that sometimes people don't want to admit that you're good. And that's what my guides, you wanted me to sort of say whatever needs to come through, that's what's coming through. You have someone in your life that has a hard time saying, you did it. So you get it here instead. You did it. You're doing it. Good job. A+. You're not going to get it from the teacher or the person around you necessarily, but you're getting it from spirit. All right. Let's look at the weekend. All right. Next Saturday, we have the Emperor in reverse. It's a good card. Emperor upright would be basically, you're feeling good. You're in charge. Everything's going in the right direction. The reversal is reclamation of power, or maybe even understanding that you have more power than you thought. In this card, he's holding a crystal ball and an ankh. The ankh is a symbol of power and immortality. We see those sort of ram's heads around him in the crown as well. So what you're going to be asked to do today is to step outside of your comfort zone, possibly weigh in on something that you didn't think maybe that you could or should weigh in on, and then just go for it. There could also be a decision where you're not going to have a second opinion. You're just going to have to go with your own intuition and then take responsibility for that. So the reversal of this, again, is the understanding that it's always in your hand. It's always in your lap at the end of the day and at the end of your days. Once you leave the planet, you go into soul review, you look at your life and you think, how did I do? So all the other people that weigh in, this is the big sort of underlying message for the week ahead is all these other opinions don't matter. It's where are you at? How do you feel? And how does this align with your higher self, your soul, and the path that you laid out for yourself? You might be also experiencing some issues with parents or bosses or authority figures in your life. So as you're looking at these things, try to remember that they too are just people. And we put a lot of power sometimes in those people, but at the end of the day, they are also kind of people with subjective opinions, and you don't have to put all of the power in that one person's energy. 1 week from today, we have the Moon card. So we're now looking at next Sunday. The Moon card's pretty good. It's intuition. We see a path that's clearer now. So the energy that we were kind of picking up on Tuesday is dissipated, like where should I go? Now you know where you should go, but there may be one hurdle in front of you. So the wolf and the dog basically represent that. And the opportunity is to go towards enlightenment or reflection and away from this competition here. So there is definitely there might be a naysayer, there might be someone that has feedback, there might be a necessary conversation that you have to have before you can go to the next level. So it can be a gatekeeper too. Whatever this is, it's temporary, and it doesn't take you away from this beautiful river of stars leading towards enlightenment. So you're on your way. Don't give up. Don't let that one last sort of gatekeeper get in the way of your progress. Trust your gut. So the Moon is the most kind of like primal of the intuition cards, whereas like High Priestess, it comes through here, it comes through here, maybe elsewhere in your subtle body. With the Moon, it's in your bones, right? Or it's like when you get goose pimples, your hair stands up. It's all of that sort of energy. You just feel it. So if you just feel yes or no, trust that core feeling. That's what kept us alive when we were more sort of primal in our and earlier in our sort of evolution. Quick summary of the week, then let's go into the elemental forecast. What are the high points this week? Well, we're going to look at the best cards. Today's a high point, so thanks for joining me during that. I feel like Monday is going to be a great day. So Sunday, Monday, and Friday are looking amazing. Hierophant, King of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles. So during the next few days here, I would focus on those days for getting stuff done. What are the challenging days? I think the most challenging probably days, it's going to be Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday more than Thursday. Thursday is your turning point. And it's a turning point between shifting your resources towards something where you feel more of a return. But on Tuesday, you're going to have to either dig for some answers or release the need to know things that aren't yet known. This is a day where faith, hope, and vision, internal vision, start to come into play. I remember when I was a little kid and I was asking my mom about certain things about the universe, or my dad, both of them said there are things that we don't know yet. Like science doesn't know, faith doesn't know, like there are unknowns in this universe. And their approach on that was good. That they said that's where you have to trust yourself. You have to have a higher sort of purpose or connection, and that's where faith comes in. I didn't really understand that as a kid, but it helped me as I got older, and I definitely understand that as I get older. You have to hold firm to something that you believe in, and it's going to be different for each of us. So I'm not going to dictate what that is. I'm just going to tell you what's coming through. Next weekend, another turning point. You're going to realize your power. You're going to get back on track. All right? All right. Let's go ahead and kind of clear the table a bit. We're going to move on to the elemental forecast. So the elemental forecast is cool because during this portion, we're going to take a deeper dive into fire, earth, air, and water. It's the only portion today where I'm really going to do that. And after that, we're going to go into a general read for everybody, looking at whatever needs to come through, maybe with a few twists and turns, but I'll definitely keep to the Celtic Cross for the beginning of it. All right, let's see which deck of cards is calling to me on the side. We haven't used this one in a minute or two. All of these decks can be found on my website, by the way. So you can just go there and it's in the main navigation. Fire, earth, air, water. All right, let's talk about these. Let's begin with fire signs. So this is going to be for Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. What's coming through for you? Again, it is a time to get clarity and clarification. So we're looking at Aladdin here, trying to find that magic lamp. Here's the cool thing with the Seven of Cups. A lot of times, it's a tricky card because we need to give ourselves time to daydream, right? And we need to give ourselves time to consider things. With this card, sometimes what happens is we get lost in the options, in the dizzying sort of options as well. It also reminds me a little bit of what happened in, I forget which Indiana Jones it was. Maybe it was The Last Crusade, right? Where they were trying to find that one sort of chalice. And it ended up, well, spoiler alert, I won't give it away. It wasn't what you would expect it to be. One key that I would say is sometimes the simplest thing is the easiest and the best path forward. So as we're looking at this, I flash back to Indiana Jones. Rather than Aladdin, even though that's what's illustrated. The magic sometimes isn't in the flash or the popularity or whatever. It's like the easiest thing to understand. So as you're sort of brainstorming this week, exploring new things, asking questions, it's the one you keep coming back to. It's the one that just makes sense. A lot of times when you have to think of like a title for a movie, a book, or if you're trying to figure out like a lyric for a song or something, it's just the one that hits a common chord. It may not sound fancy, it may not be grammatically perfect, but it's the one that everyone's going to get. So when you're trying to figure out what it is that you get, what it is that you want to do, simplicity. You can ask questions this week. Always when we have the cloudy cards, and this is a cloudy card, you can ask questions to get through that. It is about eventually landing on something. So I like that. We can't stay forever in the dreaming or daydreaming stage. The other thing is this can be a relationship card, believe it or not. And it's one where you're thinking a lot about somebody. So maybe it's like an anniversary, or it could also be a date, celebrating someone's death or whatever, separation or something. So sometimes they're happy anniversaries. Sometimes they can be tinged with sadness. But what you want to do with this is sort of like address it. I feel like it's an elephant in the room. So when you have that energy, address it, celebrate it, say and think what you have to, and then change the channel and focus on something that's here, that's now. But you have to always address it. So that gatekeeping card that we saw with the moon, it may connect with this Seven of Cups for all of my fire signs, okay? And I believe that was next Sunday. So you've got a whole week to kind of clarify and get that energy out, and then you're ready to move on. All right, that's everything for fire. I do like the Seven of Cups. It's innovation and ideation. Coming up with new ideas. You just have to eventually land on one, okay? That's the one challenge this week. Moving on to my earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. You have the Queen of Pentacles. Yay for this. This is connecting also with the energy for tomorrow because we have the King. There could be a good partnership coming through for some of you. Great day for love, for meeting up with others. What I like about the Queen of Pentacles is her ability to develop. So a king can get what he wants. He has more of the owl-like energy, but the queen can create what she wants. I almost always would prefer to pull a queen if I'm in a developmental stage of a product or project, because she can make it more than it even is right now. So you have this really productive energy this week. Also, again, maternal energy. So people want to come to you for love and support. So you may need to figure out just how much and how often to give to others. It may be a week, because we're looking at 7 days, where you're connecting more with either children or parents in your life if they're still alive. If not, you're taking care of your inner child, you're parenting yourself. The older we get, the more we become the amalgam. There's a card in one of my decks that says like parent, child, God, world, or something. We become like all of these things to ourselves. So take care of yourself, do something for yourself. Treat yourself this week for sure, okay? Great energy, good for money, good for business. Good week to get things done. You're definitely in your power when it comes to creation and attracting resources. And you came through as yourself, Earth, so we can't complain with that. All right, moving on from my Earth signs to air, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. I think you're going to like this. You got the Magician. The Magician's perfect at manifesting. If you've been stuck, it's a week to get unstuck. If you're focusing a lot on something, I want you to really pay attention to what it is, because Whatever you're fixating on is what you're calling into your life. So try to fixate on possibilities and really try to see see yourself as the limitless being that you are outside of this planet. Starting new things, having key meetings, having first dates. We like the Magician card for that. It's a chemistry card. Your charm is on, and all of you are good. All of the air signs are good at being charming. So why, you might ask? Because you have the ability to see it from multiple points of view. Like the owl, you can go up and see other people's perspectives. So use that to your benefit this week and get started on something. The one thing that the Magician wants to be is discerning, so that basically not throwing the kitchen sink at things is going to be important. A little bit of the energy of what I was talking about with my fire signs. Simple, succinct, less, but more. That's going to be something that everybody can benefit from this week. But the sky's the limit with the Magician card. So it's just, if I could give you one piece of advice, it's get started. Whatever it is that you need to do, get started on it this week. You have 7 days to make a splash. All right, moving from my air signs to my water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Page of Wands. Pretty much great cards this week, by the way, across the board. But the Page of Wands is great because I see her as rallying support, because she's kind of in this, well, it looks like she might be kind of like getting some bananas or whatever there, but she's also dancing. So I see a fruitful venture, literally, if we're looking at the act of harvesting, but I also see someone who's getting people excited, like, look at this and let's do this. And so part of the magic happens in meeting someone halfway, either literally kind of like taking a business trip or a trip or going across town and talking to someone, or emotionally, intellectually coming forward and making a little bit of a compromise, and then rallying support and saying things like, I'm really excited about this potential. What do you want to do? When do you want to do this? So you're this sort of cheerleader on the sidelines. The cheerleading will pay off. Pages communicate. You're communicating potential. You're getting people excited. And you may need to give them like a little hint at it. So I'm imagining that she's going to take those bananas or plantains and say like, look at this, taste this. This is okay. This is not bad, right? So sometimes you might need to show a prototype. You might need to show a work in progress. You might need to literally take someone that is so fact and figure based and say, it's working over here. Let's not freak out. It's going to be fine. So all of those things are going to help. Show someone. Show up and show someone this week. That's what the Page of Wands can do best. All right? It's a good week for my water signs. Your passion will definitely be a part of this. But there is this sort of, it's a way of kind of bringing it into the real world. They need to see that as well. All right. So we're ready now for the main topic for today. If you just joined, do me a favor. We're really close to hitting a milestone. I'd like to try to hit it this week so I can do a bonus video. So like the video if you haven't already, and then subscribe. You can also follow me across social media. And just a quick reminder that I don't give private readings. All right, let's go ahead now and get all these cards cleared. And I'm going to go back to my old standard Lightseers deck today because I was using that yesterday for the one card pull and it resonated. So give me a second here. Okay, special topic today. Whatever the universe wants to bring through. We're going to move with the Celtic Cross because many of you expressed your desire for me to use that, so I will. Then I'll deviate from that as need be. I may not pull the expanded forecast on this, so we're going to kind of blend the best of two worlds. Celtic Cross plus whatever I need to pull based on the Celtic Cross. So let's just start with that, and that way I'm meeting you halfway on this one. Yeah, I pulled the Page of Pentacles for today, and I was like, I really like this deck. I haven't used it as much lately, so let's pull it back into rotation for today. And then if I decide to kind of rotate out, I'll look over here and see what else calls to me. Ah, interesting. That one knows a volunteer. I'm still going to do a catalyst, and then I'll decide what I want to do with the expanded, and if I want to do the expanded. I probably will, but I might take a different approach. We'll see. Okay, let's get started with the catalyst here. So we have the Protection Guardian. It was reversed, and it says drop your shield. So many of you may be having a hard time letting people in, and there could be any number of reasons for that. Disappointment, setbacks, fear of somebody judging you for who you are, again, the quality of the work, a past failure. The reminder for this, though, is that if we constantly operate 100% of the time with all shields up, it's very hard to see and feel what's going on in the world around us. So there are times where you can basically, instead of being an impermeable shield, what you want to imagine is that you're a filter instead. So you can say, I don't need that, but I need to open up to this. So instead of all or nothing, it's discernment, it's a sieve. So really start to program your shielding as that. I'm going to allow this in, this, and this, and then reject that. That's going to help you at least pick up on things. And then there may be times where you need more or less protection. So you're just going to oscillate between those two modes. And then instead of being a shield that blocks all, it's a shield that allows the light or the insight or the inspiration or the unconditional love to come through so that you can still receive. After all, one of the 4 suits is cups. We need to be open to receiving certain things. It's just about programming what it is that you want to receive and validating that when it comes through. All right. So that was a powerful message in one card, I think. Let's take a look. I actually want to look at the deep past before I look at I want to look at these 2 cards first, and then we'll look at this. So in the deep past, we have the 10 of Swords, because this is affecting this, and that's why I'm kind of jumping around a little, and then we'll go into what's presenting. We have to understand the past before the present. So when I'm looking at the deep past, you're almost there. This is one of the nicest 10 of Swords here. So in this 10 of Swords, we have someone who has learned her lessons, who has gotten up from the dramatic scene that we normally see in the 10 of Swords, where someone's on the floor with 10 swords in their back. And it's basically just saying, all right, let's move on. Or even more powerfully, she may see a potential 10 of Swords moment way before it happens. And she's like, I've been there. Squawk all you want. The birds in the background. She's like, it's not going to work this time. So I like that. I feel like you're at this turning point of healing. And some of you are even avoiding going down a particular path again. There's still healing to be done. The 10 of Swords is not yet a page. You haven't kind of like jumped up to the next level just yet. The one thing that you have to do is forgive yourself. Usually at the core of this one is forgiveness and then release. That helps inform why the 6 of Swords is at the center. And that's why I think I needed to start with the deep past. There's one more message before we can empower the 6 of Swords at the center, and it's justice. She flipped out of the deck when I was shuffling, and I do look at those volunteer cards. And I do give them a little more weight because the universe wanted us to see that, and that's the title today. She came through reversed. For those of you that don't like reversals, you're going to love this card because there's just what I always read in a reversal, a different accentuated meaning, because it's always upright, but the reversal carries with it this sort of clarity. So in the upright position, justice she's not really looking at things. She kind of wants to please people. She might be contemplating something, but when it's reversed, her eyes are right on you, and she's like, I see you, and I see the situation. And she's not afraid to say what she needs to. And that's usually no, I don't want to do it, or this isn't right, or this needs to be changed, or this is unjust. She is clear, and the eye contact is undeniable. She's just saying, I see you, you see me, this is where I stand. And this is the line. And don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to put a limit out there. This is why, I love this deck, but this is why I read reversals, because I see this when I see a reversal. So she's also willing to let something go. And the core of all of this is kind of about moving on and release. So we see the they're almost like chalices, but you know, when you're looking at scales, they hold things. So she's saying something has to go for something else to come through. Okay? Could be an awesome Libra coming into your life as well. But this is where Justice reverse is for me, it's one of the easiest cards to read. It's just the hardest maybe to say or to do in your life, because you have to say no, you have to walk away. Now that we've looked at these, there's a beautiful and a very cohesive message that's coming through. Movement. Why is the movement happening? Well, you've either experienced it before or you don't want to experience it anymore. How can you create the movement? Well, you've either said it or you're about to say it, but no, or you're going to stand your ground, or you're going to highlight what needs to change. What happens after that? Well, there's still going to be a little bit of healing, but rapid change. The Knight of Swords is one of the fastest cards I can pull. So the healing will happen faster than you think. The words will come out of your mouth faster than you think. And you're going to be closer to your destination than you imagined. There's been a little bit of dragging of the heels, but once that goes through, your strength, your wisdom, and your insight lead the way. Notice how she has a complete heart on her necklace here. So it's almost a little bit of the Wizard of Oz here, because they had to kind of like wear the thing that they already had. So here we see someone with all the strings attached to their heart. Here she's reclaimed those strings and she's like, no, the only one that I'm really accountable to and the one I have to please is myself. So we see a healing heart and one that will heal completely, or as complete as it needs to be, because there's always, you know, when there's a disappointment or a loss or sadness, there's always a little bit of a sort of scar that's left, but sometimes we're stronger because of that. And then we know when, how, and if to put the shields up. And that's what this is saying. She's still able to access her heart, but she's not going to give it away. She's not going to let people pull at it unnecessarily. She knows when, she knows how, she knows if she's going to open up the door. And the other thing that I like about this particular strength card is we see the balancing, which wasn't here. This was showing an imbalance. The balancing of partnership, divine masculine and feminine, the balance in your life of whatever we weren't seeing earlier this week when I had the Two of Pentacles. So basically you're able to embody all the things that you need. It's there. You're going to get there, actually, folks. There is a step of healing that has to happen first, but these three cards, where your head's at, what's in the near future, and what the outcome is, these two in particular tell a good story. This is the only thing that's going to be a challenge to you. So what can it represent? Hurt, disappointment, unrealistic expectations, and therefore sort of pain that happens because of that. People that didn't come through, people that have said no, lots of things that just come through sometimes and upset the norm. What do we see here? Possibly overreaction. I mean, I get it. We've all had Three of Swords moments, but you know, I do think maybe some of you have just been holding on to something for a while, so there needs to be a release, okay? Once that's done, though, things start to get better. This heart is already trying to mend. We can see the stitches starting to happen here, okay? And then we see in the crowning position, it does mend. It just takes time. And it also, for some of you, involves, it's not easy. It's hard to say no. It's hard to step away from something. It's hard to move on. Movement is the key thing here. But once you allow for it to happen, time passes, heart heals, cool things start to open up. So let's focus on this. All right. So you're asking, what's the lamb? You're the leader. You're not the follower. That's what the lamb is about on this one. And instead of having a lion where she's opening the mouth, she is both the human and the lion or lioness. It's the balance here. So people are willing to follow you. Lambs follow. Also the lion and the lamb. There's no need to sort of play the old roles anymore, okay? So in the traditional strength card, she opens the mouth of the lion. She's not doing that anymore. She's embodying the lion. She doesn't have to eat the lamb. There's basically peace on all levels. So competition is gone. Control is gone. It's peace. When you let go of all of it, it's peace. And that's what I see in that card. How are you showing up? A couple of notes with this. I feel like you're going to be able to take whatever comes across your desk, your life, and deal with it with aplomb, with great ability. The key here is to not get bothered by things. So normally with the Seven of Wands, this is important to look at the traditional one because it's the one that deviates the most today. Traditionally, you see someone that goes on the defensive and sometimes has to explain their point of view. Sometimes may feel like they need to push back. And here we've got it really quickly on this one. So here's your traditional one, a lot more effort, a lot more perturbed energy when we look at that person. They're not super happy. So there's a lot going on and they're kind of saying, okay, I think I can do this, I can do that. And no, I said no on this, or wait, where's this? So there's a lot of exertion of energy. She's in a yogic pose where she's just saying, you're either going to do it or you're not. I'm either going to do this or I'm not. I'm going to focus on what I can. I'm going to allow for things to ebb and flow. And I'm at peace with my power. She's definitely the lioness, right? So there is a strength that comes through not needing to explain yourself all the time and not needing to prove yourself. There's going to be a time and a place for this. If someone does something ridiculous, you speak up. If you've said something 15 times to someone and they're not listening, you let them do what they're going to do. And if someone says something nonsensical or cruel, you hold your space and you're like, I'm not going to take the bait. So know when to fight, know when to focus. You get the best of both because of this illustration. And you may need to oscillate between the more aggressive and the more sort of relaxed and sort of like at peace one, because there are times where we have to fight, okay? But not all the time. You've got a lot going on. You're going to move up from this, from having to kind of do it all to being able to be a part of something bigger. Part of this could involve multitasking. We forget sometimes that we don't have to hold the weight of the world up. So the big opportunity for you in this moment in time is, for some of you, just delegation. I don't want to do this. This isn't right. Or you can do this, or I'm going to focus on this. Delegating. She's in a crystal ball. So she's embodying the energy of the High Priestess and the Two of Wands, which we talked about earlier. She's keeping to her vision and to her power. She then becomes a part of a group of people that can kind of do the same. Like attracts like. So Eight of Wands is a community card. There's a lot of other people throwing those batons up in the air. So you're part of something bigger. Things start to move quickly. If you felt like you were kind of in a period where there was stagnation, not for long, there could also just be an understanding that you might need to raise your hand to be seen and volunteer for something, because there's an opportunity around you. There's just a lot of busyness. So don't be afraid to speak up if you want to do something. We have the Page of Wands again coming through here. Throwing that baton in the air, getting people excited, rallying support and rallying attention. We're starting to see this coming through in multiple cards, multiple times. This is where the opportunity card is, with the Page of Wands here. So what she's doing is putting on a bit of a show, and there's nothing wrong with that. Bring your A game. If you have an important meeting, dress for it. If you have an important proposal, put in the extra work to make the presentation polish. If you have a key conversation with someone, do the homework so it just flows. And if you can do all of that, then they're going to remember the pizzazz as well as the potential and the sort of like what it's all about, the core energy. But the person that can shine the most sometimes is going to be the one that people remember. So it's almost like an anti-establishment energy sometimes, and you're like, I don't need to go overboard, and I don't need to do this, and I don't want to play the game. Well, okay, but there are other people that are going to work within the system. You have to know when to fight the system and when to just kind of like pass through, like we saw with the Moon card. There are gatekeepers at certain points, so fight the fights that are worth fighting and don't lose out on an opportunity because you're afraid to kind of put the pizzazz in there, because you have a chance to make it really flow for you, because in the outcome we have the Empress. And the Empress is amazing because you earn the opportunity basically to then call the shots. But you had to pay, there is some paying of dues that's happening for some of you, and it's so frustrating. I remember that when I left college a long time ago. But I remember coming out and thinking, oh my God, this is work. How long am I doing? Like, do I have to do this? And you know, I remember one of my first jobs, I was working on the East Coast. It was cold, it was icy, and there was just this, I had to just take some work home. And I've told this once before, but they said, be careful on the way out, like, because it was slippery. It was New England. And I said, oh, thanks. And this person said, and if for some reason you get hurt, text me so someone else can take your work over. I was like, oh, it's just about the work, isn't it? They don't really care about me. They just want to make sure that I get this done. And she said, we'll pay overtime tonight, so feel free to work as late as you need to. And I thought, this is an interesting world that I'm exiting into. So sometimes there's that awakening, but we all go through the paying of dues and the sort of disillusionment. But what the Empress comes back with is like, all right, done that, been there, worked myself to the bone. And now I get to decide what to do, how to do, when to do it. And hopefully I can do a better job of fostering a nice environment around me, because I've seen the other end of the spectrum. So be the leader that you never had, be the person that you always wanted to be, really be the Empress. But a good Empress doesn't follow just how she was taught. She forges something new. And you are giving birth to something exciting. So what's coming is a lot more fun than what has preceded it. I like the potential of today's reading. And what I want to help you with is how to focus on the potential. As promised, I'm going to deviate from the system a bit today. And I want to kind of look at what could, we're going to clarify some of these cards. And I don't usually clarify, but I'm going to do that. And then if I feel like I want to pull a single card and not go as deep on health, wealth, love, and destiny, I will. I just want to modify it a bit because this is a special topic and it requires deviation. So this is an important card. What is it that is holding you back from potentially getting to the Empress? Or what is it that you need to focus on if we want to look at this in a higher energy? What can you do to become that Empress energy? So many of you are just afraid. The Nine of Swords, especially when we look it up in the upright position here, it's a fear of the unknown. It's kind of going down a rabbit hole of, well, what if this happens, or what if that doesn't happen, or what if they say this, or what if they do that? This means it's not going to be as bad as you think. In fact, it could be good. So any of you that have had to have one of these key justice reverse conversations, I'm going to clarify her in a second too. Any of you have had to have one of those conversations know that you can think yourself into oblivion, like, how do I say that I want to quit? Or how do I say that this relationship is over? Or how do I say that I need more money? Or whatever it is. Usually by the time you come to the person, it's like they can see it. Or you've done so much work that you're going to choose the right words. So more often than not, you're going to be better off than what you thought you were. But either way, it's sort of like an inevitable thing. So the sooner you do it, like a Band-Aid, the better. You got to take that off. Let's look and see how you can communicate. How can you communicate your justice reversed moment? Get a good night's sleep. This is one that, unlike that boss person in my past, was like, go ahead and pull an all-nighter. Just don't slip on the ice. I was like, seriously? I also worked at a company where they kind of like said, you can just sleep here tonight if you want to do it. Again, I used to work in .coms, and it's before I did entertainment work, and they were a burnout culture. That was something I would not repeat in a future lifetime. Get a good night's sleep. Rest. That's one of the reasons I need to have a certain amount of sleep, or I won't make sense. And it's not safe to drive. It's not safe to communicate. So make sure you're getting enough sleep. It's also give yourself enough time too. Common theme today is the healing of the heart. Do it when the emotions are calm. Don't have an important conversation. Don't make an important Don't have an important conversation or make an important decision when your heart is hurting, when you're angry, when it's beating. I can only speak from my own experience. I've had conversations where you're sweaty, your heart is beating, and it's not the time to have a conversation. That's going to be a surefire way to get to 3 and 10 of swords and devil energy and moon. Don't do it. So always breathe, rest, sleep, collect your thoughts. Go at it later, and better to have the sort of next day, good night's sleep version of yourself than if you're shaking or your throat's tight or your heart's palpitating. There are moments where we have to sometimes have communications when we're not at our best. But if you can get to your best state, and rest is how you're going to get to your best state, do it. You'll be better for it. Okay. Let's see if anything else needs clarification here. What's so hard to let go of? By the way, now the older I get and the more intuitive that I kind of like have become, this is when I get answers. I get answers in my dreams. I get clarification in my dreams. I can tell if someone's texting me in my dreams when I wake, because I've already had dreams about them. I can tell if someone's doing something. I'm very aware and awake. So it's a great sort of time for me to think through a problem too. 3 of Swords. Interesting. Okay. Some of you are just afraid of the visibility. And some of you are afraid to let others see your pain. This is a card of knowing and showing and everybody seeing that, and this is what you don't want them to see. We have been brought up, for some reason, in modern culture to look at vulnerability, sensitivity, and pain through the lens of, what's the best word that I can use? Like basically that you are less than or something because you're going through that. And that's not the case. It's a processing. It's a necessary processing of emotions. We all go through pain, frustration, loss, sadness. And when we admit it and when we deal with it and when we talk about it, we regain our power. We diffuse the hold that the emotions have upon us. And then we can become, the Strength card and the Star card. If anyone in your life rejects you because you're in a moment where you're vulnerable, they're not your friend, they're not your ally. So find the right person that you can feel vulnerable with or that you can feel authentic with and talk to them. Discernment is key. It's not for everybody. In a day of social media, I don't put everything on social media. And I actually, like for my own personal Facebook, I don't even use it anymore. Just there's certain things where now, because I kind of have a business and I do everything on social media, I only put stuff on my professional platforms and I only put stuff out that's going to be seen. It's not worth it anymore. So there are certain parts of your life that you keep for yourself, right? There are certain people that you're trusting, and then the rest, you don't have to share everything with everyone, but do share the important pieces with people that you can trust. I feel like that's going to be the key to your healing. So that could be standard disclaimers here. I'm not a substitute for a financial advisor, a therapist, or a doctor. You may want to talk to one of those about whatever it is that you're going through, and that's going to help you kind of have that light bulb moment. Okay? I think we clarified everything. I don't normally do that in the spread, but because today is a day of whatever needs to come through, I'm not going to leave any cards left sort of untouched here. Instead of doing oracles, I'll do oracles. We'll just breeze through this because we took a little extra time. So I'm going to kind of like just give it a quick download and an initial brush as we do the expanded forecast. And if I feel like I need to go deeper into one, I will, but I probably won't break it out into all the different aspects like I normally do. So we're going to expand the forecast quickly, not kind of go as deep as we normally do. But we're still going to get what we need out of this. So let me just move back here to the expanded forecast. All right. So we're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, and just see if we missed anything, see if there's any connections that need to be made. All right, let's begin with the health card. We have the oak tree coming through on this one, and it's in reverse, but it really doesn't matter on this because we're looking at a cool sort of symbol on this one. So when I'm looking at this, it reminds me a lot of an Ace of Pentacles, and it also reminds me of something that takes time. So I feel like the number one message I can give you with respect to your general health is that anything worth doing particularly when it comes to improved health, it takes time and consistency. And that's like a very succinct and powerful message. That acorn, first it has to start as a flower, then it becomes a fruit, then it has to harden, then it has to go into the ground, then it has to, kind of something has to break through that so that it can, become a plant. It just has to go through all these phases. So don't rush to the finish line. Also invest in yourself. This is like an Ace of Pentacles whenever I see a seed coming through. So a reverse seed is saying, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in my potential. We looked at the cards a little bit earlier. We're not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to say that Ten of Swords can also represent chronic pain or fatigue. So if you need to talk to a doctor about that or see a chiropractor or something of that nature, take care of that. We got a lot of cards around stress and sleep. So those come through quite a bit. Your crowning card, though, is a lot like the oak, which is that you have the potential to basically get out of the situation better than you started with it. Don't push yourself too hard. Those are the main messages I have for health. Let's move on to wealth. For wealth, it says, let your inner fire warm you, not burn you. Wow, that's a powerful message. So sometimes we can burn ourselves out. I talked about that, right? There are bosses that will expect this sort of energy, like burnout energy. When we're younger, sometimes we can get away with only a few hours of sleep. But the older you get, the more you realize you got to take care of this body. This especially happens when you start to see maybe family members and friends around you not doing that. And I think for you, knowing how and when to, like, there's an unspoken card here that could help neutralize it, which in this case would be like Six of Pentacles. Give just enough, but not too much. And that's basically what this is saying. And passion is key, but we want to have a little bit left for tomorrow, a little bit left for the day after that. And the sun is a great example of that. It has enough energy to burn for billions of years, right? Many billions of years. There are some stars that, like I think the red dwarfs, they can kind of almost go on infinitely, but for a very, very long time. So the reason is the blue and white stars burn out. As they start to go towards the red, orange and red, they last a lot longer. And they're smaller. The smaller the star, the slower the burn, kind of like an ember, the longer it can burn. So to sustain, for you, it's interesting because we're looking at wealth, but it's also about health. It's about making sure that you keep enough fuel for the whole road, the whole journey. You don't want to just hit the pedal and burn all the gas, right? And that's the message. If you're in a burnout job, time to leave. If you're working yourself too much, be kinder. If someone around you expects unrealistic expectations, be the Justice reverse card and say, no, this doesn't work for me. Let me see here for your overall resources. Well, we got Queen of Pentacles coming through for some of you this week, and we also got the King of Pentacles. Tomorrow's the day to talk about resources, because I'm not seeing a lot of them here, but we got them in other parts of the conversation today. Let's move on to love. In love, we have the sacral chakra. So for many of you, this is a moment for you to really focus on expression and power and figuring out how to really kind of emanate the energy that I saw in one of these cards here. I like what we see here. Peace and power. That's going to be one of the opportunities coming through in relationships this month. How to be at peace and not have to fight all the time. And if you're going to fight, know when and how to fight. I think the most important thing when we just kind of do a quick look at relationships, I'm not going to go super deep, but we're just going to highlight it. I think it's easier to digest this way anyway, because we did a lot of clarification today. Current relationships. There might have been some moments in the past where communication just wasn't what it needed to be. Some of you are just ready to move in a different direction. So for those of you that can't get over something from the past, well, you're already moving on. You're going to be fine. We have strength in the world. If you're going to stick with a relationship and there's been something difficult, whether it's an argument or disappointment, or maybe there's been a tangible loss of someone or something in that relationship, do you have the potential to do it? Sure you do. But it's going to require a lot of work from both of you. And these are pretty evenly met, the 7 and the 8 of Wands. And a lot of expressive energy showing up and showing each other that you want to do this. So If you invest, the relationship grows. If you don't, you'll move on and it will be okay. But it is kind of an either or here. Continue to show up and allow for growth, continue to heal and move past that. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, like that song. It definitely will, and you can get through it, but you have to want to, and they have to want to. For those looking for love right now, I feel like the most important thing is to move on, and to heal. If that doesn't happen, whomever and whatever you bring into your life is just going to be a mirror of that. Focusing on physical health and activity, super important right now. Upon the heels of this difficulty is a deep soul partner that wants to come through. The main thing here is you have to be complete. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling in a mothering energy, and that's not sexy in a relationship because that's someone that's going to try to control you. Mothering, fathering energy. So you want to be that mother or father for yourself so that your partner's just your partner, not your parent. Okay? Could be a Leo. And there could also be fire signs coming through as well. If you're single and happy, good. There's a lot going on in your life right now. I definitely see you kind of starting a new chapter, getting stronger, possibly moving. We have 2 cards of moving and moving on. New location, new job, new love. Lots of new things could possibly coming into your life. So if you're just open to the best possible things, then I feel like this is when that's happening for you. All right, let's move on to the Destiny card. What's it all about? Well, it's what I just talked about, folks. We have the goddess again, and that's the Empress. So this is basically understanding that you are the embodiment of that which you seek. And so then basically when you know you are the one that you love and that you are embodying all the things that you seek, then a mirror of that will come through too in the form of partnership opportunities, friends, etc. So really work on yourself right now. That's the most important thing. Healing yourself is the number one thing. Healing and taking care of your body, mind, body, spirit, most important components. From that, everything else can grow. That's the foundation from which this oak tree can take root, basically. Okay? So empowerment, yet again, comes through. We saw the Emperor reverse for what, Saturday? So this is when that comes through again, because Emperor, Empress, God, Goddess, it's all the same. So you're going to have some of that energy coming through over the course of this week and quite possibly over the course of the month ahead. So I hope this helped. I feel like this is a really powerful reading. We're going to do one more card that I'm going to pull, which is the big idea. And then we're going to pull an extra card at the end, which is, I'm sure you have something that you want answered. And we'll allow Spirit to move through that one. Let's go to a different deck for this one. All right, so for the big idea, let's just see what else we need to focus on over the next 7 days that we haven't already. You know, I feel like it's hammering us over the head. So we got the Emperor again, and the Emperor in this deck is actually an Empress, so it's kind of like non-binary character. So we're getting an amalgamation of that. Have you noticed a lot of that? So some of you, this is interesting. You're overcoming biases towards what's expected of you based on family or culture. You're the first man or woman or non-binary person to do something that anyone else has in your family, and you're doing it because you want to do it. Or you're breaking down barriers. That's what I get with this. And that's an exciting thing. Let me go backwards. And I think when I pulled this, it was in the reverse state. But it doesn't matter anyway, because it's basically showing that, yeah, it was reversed. No, this one was upright. I'm just taking a look back here in real time. Hold on a second, because I do care about this. Yeah, it was reversed. Okay. So this is about overcoming expectations or disillusionment, or just basically even giving yourself permission to break down your own sort of walls that you built for protection. Because sometimes we think all I can be is this because that's all that's available to me. No, it's not. That's all that was available to the previous generation, or, but now you have a chance to sort of have a breakthrough. So yeah, it could be ancestral karma. It could be familial blocks. It could be intellectual blocks that you've created. It could be societal blocks, all sorts of things. But I have very empowered cards that I'm using today that don't function with the traditional. I choose cards for a reason. I want ones that break through. And these definitely break through, and there's a commonality here. They're both male and female. So that means that it's beyond that. Do what you need to do, not what mom and dad expected, not what's expected of you. It's a really powerful piece, and that's possibly one of the most important things that came through. It's one of the last cards that I pulled. All right, let's get ready to meditate together, and then we're going to look at one last card, and that can be just as powerful as this, so I hope you stick around for that. Please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can show support, but we're going to meditate first. For the meditation, let's focus on the sky. You can see behind me, we've had really crazy weather in California. I'm sure you've heard about it if you're living in the US. All these weird atmospheric rivers, right? And I know that's making its way over to the East Coast. And anyway, I know many parts of the world are experiencing extreme weather as well. So today I noticed there were blue skies though, and a lot of wind, but blue skies. So let's kind of work with those two elements, the wind and then just clear skies above. Let's start first by imagining that you're standing at the top of a hill. Imagine that you've hiked your way to the top of a mountain or a hill, and you get the wonderful opportunity to just drink it all in. See the beautiful rolling green hills and mountains around you. And as you look around, you can see clouds, and they're moving faster than normal. And you see you don't see the wind, but you feel it, and you can see the effect of the wind, which is it's pushing away the dust, the clouds, the rain, all of that. And all that's left now are rays of sunshine and endless blue. Blue sky meeting blue sea, meeting the green hills. And so that blue and green energy, the color of the throat, the color of the heart, starts to kind of wrap itself around you, allowing yourself to love yourself, allowing you to speak your truth. And all I want you to do right now, if you feel so inclined, is to have a seat here at the top of the mountain and just drink in the clarity that you can take in this moment. Imagining now that the sky is the limit. In other words, there is no limit. You're just going to allow yourself to go where you need to go in the week ahead. So just see endless blue as you close your eyes, breathe. I'm going to play the singing bowl and we'll look at your final question. Imagine, if you will, that you feel as light as a feather. You feel like you could almost take flight, just like your dreams. And if you want to, you can imagine that. Just allow yourself to land on the ground before we look at the final card. But feel yourself lighter, brighter, and see the world without the limits or all of the blocks that were there just a few minutes before our meditation. Taking a couple of additional breaths, imagining yourself on the ground, on a grassy hill or on a sandy shore, somehow connected back to the earthly plane. Take one last final breath, and then at this point I'd like you to gently open your eyes and turn your focus now from the meditation to the question that you have, the final card that I'm going to be pulling for you today. Fantastic. We have the High Priestess. She's reversed, but she's still the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is basically an affirmation that you can do what you want to do, but you have to trust in your judgment. You have to take advantage of the windows of opportunity that present themselves when they present themselves. She also has that laptop or mobile device there in her lap, and she's basically saying, I'm not afraid to follow through on my vision, on my ideas, on what I'm receiving. So I'm both a channel and an agent, a channel of information and an agent of change. So I quite like this illustration here. The reversal is the doubt, the hesitation that sort of creates friction and delays, which you don't necessarily need or want. So let's be this connected and an active high priestess. Thank you for a magical reading today. This was, I mean, I never know what to expect. They're all great, but today was nice. I think part of it too was just, there was, I love topics, but the topic was whatever we need. And so I'll make sure that I occasionally do that because that's fun. Sometimes like messages from your guides will do that, but this was even better because it was more like you gave me the opportunity to look at things you needed to hear, even if they're not popular. And that's what we needed to see today was like working through pain, working through frustration, working through limits that you've put on yourself, saying no. Like these are a lot of core things that are important, but they're not going to make the popular list. So maybe occasionally I'll just do this as the last one of the month because it was popular anyway. And I feel like there's important messages that you'll never vote for that you need to hear. So I'll put it into rotation occasionally because it's important. And that's part of my charge is doing what I'm doing here. So I'll figure out how to make it work. But yeah, it was fun for me to read because it was just free flow. Okay, I'd like to take a moment today to say, first of all, thanks. If you haven't already subscribed, let's do it. Let's hit this milestone this week. I want to do a Q&A with all of you when we hit 350. Follow me on social for additional information and recaps. Don't answer any direct messages. I don't use them. So if anybody offers you something, they're fake. I don't have other accounts that you don't see on my website. So you can go to my website for more information. If you want to give back, you can do that now. Super stickers, super chat, and super thanks. Later this year when I launch the podcast, I'll be doing some additional things with memberships with the podcast, like extras. But for now, you just get a chance to vote and a chance to sometimes ask questions for Q&As, which is good. But I'll be working with that a little bit more as the year progresses. All right, let me say thanks to the newest members, and then we'll do super stickers and super chats. So we got quite a few that joined today, which is awesome. So I'm just going to say first names to the best of my ability, pronunciation-wise. Apologies for anything that I don't say right, not on purpose. All right, so beginning with Sherry, Angela, Stacy, Jamie, Abad, I think, Susie, Kimberly, Liza with a Z, Sarah, DJ Mesmis, I think, and Leslie. Thanks to all of you for either joining or rejoining. The majority were rejoining, so it's good to have all of you back. Now I'd like to say thanks to those of you that gave a super sticker or a super chat for today. And I can't see the membership milestones, but I just want to say thanks to the membership milestones as well. I think there might be a couple on the side that I can see. I'll try to do that afterwards. All right, so for today, kicking things off, we have Phoenix Risen. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to again say everybody's first names to the best of my ability. So give me a second here. All right, so we have Lori, Shasha, Carmen, Renita, Tracy, Mel M8, Renita, Laura, Lucy, Janet, Melissa, Kathy, Marussia, I hope I said that correctly, Milan, Dana, and Nicole. And I'm sure there's been a couple other ones here. Donna, Yogini, and I think that was everybody. And then let me see if I can, on the sideline here, see a couple of membership milestones. Let's see here. We have someone with, let's see, Milan, thank you for 7 months. I appreciate that. And let's see if there's any other ones that I can see. I think that's about it. So that's all I can see, but I appreciate all the members that have been here for a long time, all the subscribers that have been here for a long time. I wish everybody a fantastic week ahead. A quick reminder on my schedule for this week and always, I'll be live tomorrow doing the Pisces reading. And I'll probably do some sort of bonus reading this week, TBD if it's going to be the milestone or if it's just something special, because we have an extra day between the end of the month and the beginning of next month. So I'll do a bonus reading of some sort. And then remember, I'm usually Monday, Thursday, Friday for the monthlies, every Sunday for a weekly, and then daily readings. I do a lot on the channel, so hopefully you can find the length and the time and the sort of content that you like. Sending lots of love and light to all of you. Have a great one. Thank you for showing up today. Again, wishing you all the best, and take care of yourselves. All right? Bye-bye. Thanks.